Good evening and welcome to the City Council debate with the Longmont and Latino Chambers of Commerce. My name is Scott Cook. I'm the CEO here at the Longmont Chamber. I'll be joined tonight with two moderators, Carol Shack and Ricardo Cabrera. Ricardo will now give instructions on interacting with this event in Spanish. Ricardo?
Recording in progress.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Buenas noches, amigos, y bienvenidos al debate de candidatos presentados por las cámaras de comercio de la ciudad de Longmont y la Cámara Latina del Condado de Boulder. Mi nombre es Ricardo Cabrera y soy el director de la Cámara Latina. Estaré acompañado esta noche por dos moderadores, Carol Shack y Scott Cook. Este evento será interpretado al español en vivo. Y si ustedes prefieren escuchar este evento en español, por favor oprima la opción de interpretación aquí abajo y así se hará. Scott, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ricardo. Our community, like those across the country and the world, finds itself in an interesting position. Having gone through a pandemic, we are still not quite on the other side. Members of our community have experienced different outcomes. The Latino and Longmont Chambers of Commerce have worked together with the city and many partners around the region and the state to bring vital information and support to our local businesses. And so tonight, our debate will focus on issues important to our businesses, many of whom are still struggling. In the course of our discussion, many of our community-wide issues will arise because we recognize a healthy business environment is crucial to the success of any community, and so many issues will overlap. There will be three segments this evening broken down by council seat, mayor, at-large, and Ward 2. Candidates will be given 1 minute for introductory remarks and 1 minute for closing statements. For questions, my fellow moderators and I will ask questions that will be timed. Candidates will see a screen with lights controlled by chamber volunteers James Arnold and Teresa McPhail. Depending on time, we will take questions that are sent in through the Q&A function. To send a question, click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Please use this function rather than the chat function. You may send a question in either English or English or Spanish. Chamber volunteer Deanna Dyer will prioritize questions that have not been covered yet and that are able to be asked of each candidate in that segment. Questions that include profanity, disparaging remarks about certain candidates or groups of people will not be considered. There may not be time to
candidatos o grupos no se van a considerar. Es posible que no hay tiempo para todas las cuestiones.
Of both of our chambers through our communication channels such as e-news, website, and social media. Anyone in the community will be able to access this recording. All right, we will now have a brief pause to bring in our mayoral candidates from the waiting room, and then Ricardo Cabrera will moderate our first segment.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the mayoral candidates debate. We'll be hearing tonight from Doug Barnett, campaign manager, sitting in for Gregory Harris. We'll be talking to Joan Peck, and we'll also be talking to Tim Waters. So guys, if you could please turn on your video. Joan, we're just waiting for you.
It says the host has stopped it. It will not let me turn it on.
Let's see if we can get Joan to join us. In the meantime, here she is.
There you go. I got it.
Joan.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are ready to go. I will now review the rules and orders so that we are all on the same page. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. I'm going to mute you here for a second, Joan. Thank you. Okay. Timing will be kept strictly. So each candidate has equal time, and we will move on to the next question, regardless of whether the candidate has completed an answer or not. Candidates, please pay attention to the light square on your screen as you are speaking. I suggest you pin it so it's always in front and center. The green light will be lit as you begin speaking. Then the yellow light will come on as you have 10 seconds left. Your answer must be complete when the red light goes on. Good, okay. Each of you will have a minute as an introductory statement. And at the end of the segment, you will also have 1 minute for closing remarks. I will ask questions. You will have 1 minute to respond, and we will rotate the questions so each candidate has the opportunity to answer questions first. The candidate answer the question first will also be given 30 seconds after the other candidates have spoken. And myself, as the moderator, will have the option to call on candidates to give a rebuttal if necessary, and give them 30 seconds to clarify a statement or a response to another candidate's remarks. If time permits, we will take questions from the audience, and those questions will be timed at 30 seconds. We will also have a lightning round. These questions you will get on the lightning round are going to be 10-second questions. And I will remind you about those rules when we get to the lightning questions. When you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. And however, keep your spacebar ready or your mouse at hand so you can unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. So now we will do some introductory statements. 1 minute each. Joan, you go first.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Joan Peck, and I'm running for the mayor of Longmont. I'm asking for your vote in November 2nd. For 6 years, I've been on council. I've worked on issues that our residents value: water conservation, clean air, making the train to Longmont a reality, working towards smart, sustainable growth, preserving our environment, available housing for all residents, and preschool education. As mayor, I'll continue this work, lead our city with vision and straight talk, always advocating for our community's values. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Doug, you're next.
Greg Harris is running for mayor of Longmont because he's lived in Longmont for 50 years and is tired of watching things be done the same old way. It's time for change. Longmont will grow. Businesses want to come here. We must support the construction, workforce attainable middle-class apartments and houses. Expedited project approval is necessary. Greg Harris thinks the recent action by the City Council to endorse a national carbon tax was bad policy. The path to sustainable carbon neutral future is not through denying our reality with carbon taxes, but instead focuses on the evolution of energy sources and a focused energy race that will bring meaningful solutions to our environmental concerns. We must address our infrastructure, not with multi-trillion-dollar proposals, but logical, sensible solutions dealing with today's problems, not a Green New Deal. Just stop government overreach. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Tim, you're next.
Thanks to the Latino Chamber and the Longmont Chamber for sponsoring this, to Ricardo and Scott for your volunteering your time as moderators. I'm Tim Waters. I represent Ward 1, the east side of Longmont, on City Council. I was elected to serve in that seat in 2018, and I'm running for the mayor's seat for 3 reasons, really. The first one is this council set some goals around some vision statements that I think are as relevant and motivating for me today as they were when we set them. I think there's unfinished business to do, and I'd like to continue our work on those goals, number one. Number two, if there was ever a time when municipalities need seasoned, experienced leadership in roles like mayors, now's the time. As we come out of the pandemic era, I do think I bring the kind of leadership that Longmont's going to need. And number three, As we continue to grow as a community, we need to have a community-wide conversation on who do we want to be as we evolve. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Good. Well, thank you everybody for being here today. It's going to be a fun evening. And with that, let's start with our first question for tonight. And the question is, rising housing costs are on many business owners' minds and may be contributing to workforce issues many of our businesses are having. What does affordable housing mean to you? And is this different than attainable or workforce housing? Tim, you get it. You get the honors.
Yeah, for me, the real distinction. First of all, I understand and acknowledge and agree with the problem statement. Number one. Number two, the difference for me, and I think for others in this conversation about affordable to attainable housing, is affordable housing for me is housing that's for which people who are earning less than 60% of area median income qualify for subsidies. That can happen in a variety of ways. It could be for purchase homes through Habitat in partnership with the Land Conservancy and builders, but really it's targeting, it could be a mix of rentals or for purchase profits, but for the portion of the population earning less than 60% of area median income.
Okay, so you did note a difference between attainable and workforce housing.
Well, if people are earning more than 60% of area median income, and we can get in the weeds on what that criteria is, but it's housing for which people do not qualify for subsidies. It's market rate homes that have to be priced for folks who can afford, number one, qualify for a loan and afford the cost of housing over the course of however long, their mortgage is going to be, 30 years or however long they're in the home.
Thank you, Tim. Joan?
Thank you, Ricardo. For me, the affordable housing is the HUD definition of people who make 60% or 50% below the area median income. Attainable housing, from what I have in researching it, is for people who earn 80 to 110 or 120% of the average median income. Both of those are needed in our town. But for me, workforce housing is absolutely anybody who works. So when someone is talking about workforce housing with attainable housing or workforce housing with affordable housing, for me, it is just housing. We need it in all of those income brackets. And Longmont Housing Authority is doing a great job of meeting some of the lower end housing, and we need to have conversations about the attainable and how do we do that in an equitable way. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Greg?
Doug?
Greg?
The most important issue in the mayor's race is attainable housing. We've said that from the beginning. We need to look to the future, but make sure people can find attainable workforce middle-class housing today. Other mayoral candidates have argued in previous debates that there's plenty of attainable housing available in Longmont. But developers have testified before the city council about project approval difficulties. Last week, community leaders formed Prosper Longmont, whose goal is pressing for the development and construction of attainable workforce middle-class housing. Greg Harris supports the efforts of Prosper Longmont. Recently, the city council said they wanted annual reports, and that's just not enough. Greg Harris will require quarterly reports from the agencies responsible for development approval. We need to know why these projects aren't being completed so workers can take jobs in Longmont and not spend hours commuting. The need is now, and developers and the public need actions, not words.
Thank you, Doug. Greg, do you have anything to add? Tim, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, thanks. Maybe the only comment I would make is that no one has claimed that there's adequate attainable housing. What Mr. Barnard and Greg Harris don't recognize is what's in the queue. There are at least 300 homes that are under construction right now, and they just simply choose not to recognize the fact that we have an ordinance that supports mid-tier housing, and builders have responded to it.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, excellent work. Let's go to our next question. And this one is a bit more philosophical. And the question goes like this. Can rules, laws, and ordinances overcome fundamental economic rules like scarcity or supply and demand? This question goes to Joan first.
That's a difficult question because the market drives housing more than anything else at this point. Each municipality has a different need for the housing that they would like in their community. So what ordinances and zoning and codes are a better indication of what kind of housing and how we drive it than ordinances are, as far as I'm concerned. And we have an inclusionary zoning ordinance that, to be honest, we're always looking at. The amendments are coming back to us all the time. And to Doug Barnett's point, yes, we did ask for some kind of accountability for projects that have been in the queue for a year or more. And we need that conversation both from staff and from the developer's side so that we can see exactly what is holding up the production.
Thank you, Joan. Doug?
I think you're talking about the problem with government regulations. And Greg Harris ran his own business for many years. He faced conflicting rules and regulations in everything he did. And all this adds to the costs of business and consumer prices. One recurring message heard from entrepreneurs is that regulatory burden, complexity, and uncertainty is undermining their ability to successfully launch new businesses, expand, and create jobs. And we need to stop government overreach in this area. As Mayor Greg Harris will immediately convene a commission to make recommendations on revising and repealing overly burdensome and conflicting ordinances, rules, and regulations. A recent example was the healthy beverage ordinance. Even though the public was lined up to comment on the final reading, council members spoke and announced how they were going to vote before hearing from the public on the final vote. Mayor Greg Harris will require a cost-benefit analysis when any ordinance, rule, or regulation city council policy is proposed.
Thank you, Doug. Tim?
Well, I think it is difficult to overcome fundamental market forces. That said, I think it's an obligation of council members, local policymakers, state policymakers, and federal policymakers to be clear on what we're trying to accomplish. So objectives matter, and then the designing of policy that at least influences what those who can deliver product or solutions to what societal needs are. So we I think took steps in the right direction with our inclusionary housing ordinance. We signaled the kind of housing we need, both affordable and mid-tier housing. The market has responded. We can't engineer it, but I do think we can influence it. And I think it's strengthened when we listen to the community, which we've done. We listen to both developers and builders to design the policy that we have, and we're going to continue to listen as we go along.
Thank you, Tim. Joan, do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you, Ricardo.
Excellent. Well, with that, let's go on to our next question. Levanten las manos los candidatos que hablan español.
Raise your hand, the candidates who speak Spanish.
Okay. Question number 3. In 2004, Longmont voted along with the rest of the metro area for fast tracks and a commuter rail to Longmont. We are now past the original deadline for build out and with new deadlines in the 2040s or even the 2050s. Commuter rail seems unlikely. What is the current outlook for rail? Has it improved during the last few years? And how can you significantly make a difference? These questions will go out to Doug first. Doug, you're muted.
Okay, I hope my time starts now.
You're good.
For openers, I don't think the state should adopt the proposals of the Colorado Department of Transportation that would shift the attention from driving cars to public transit. Fixing highways is a problem that needs to be addressed now. City of Longmont is the lead agency on the project to improve Highway 66. As Mayor Greg Harris will make sure one of the first items on the agenda is approval of the funding of the project to improve Highway 66. The Colorado DOT did a planning and environmental linkages study. Now it's time to move past the study and do something. Longmont City Council needs to work on this. I think I've taken a look at the fast track proposals, and I agree these are out to 2050. It's an unproven system, and I don't think that we should be linking our transportation goals to that right now.
Thank you, Doug. Joan, you get the floor.
Thank you. I've been working on this for 7 years, and Longmont actually has been the leader in bringing this forward. We need the rail for many reasons. First of all, we need transportation options, and it affects all kinds of environmental issues. However, we now have what I like to say is a bird in the hand with the Build Back Better, if it ever gets out of Congress, that the $60 billion that they're putting into transportation and our partnerships with BNSF, with Front Range Passenger Rail, with RTD, and with Amtrak. We have the possibility of $12 billion coming into this area, and the I-25 corridor rail wants to come into Longmont and hook into our transit center so that we can go to Union Station. Now is the time. We can't stop fighting it at this point.
Thank you, Joan. Tim, take it away.
Yeah, if the question is, has adequate progress been made? I think anybody would agree that it hasn't. And that's not to suggest that efforts haven't been sincere efforts. We just haven't seen the kind of progress we need to see. In my opinion, we need to continue to lean into, to pressure the RTD board. I think the only way that's going to happen is if whoever wins this mayoral race, along with mayors of the other municipalities in Boulder County, get their act together to articulate that expectation and work not just with them, but with the governor's office and with our congressional delegation. That said, we need to be ready to pivot in the moment towards the front rail passenger initiative with the new district that's been created, and be ready to take advantage with investors from the private sector, along with other elected officials and municipalities, to be first in line if indeed we ever see an infrastructure bill come out of the Congress. There's going to be a substantial amount of money available, and we need to be ready to get our share.
Thank you, Tim. Guys, for what it's worth, our interpreters are requesting if we could speak a little slower, because it's hard for them to keep up with our speed of speech. We do have live interpretation, and that's important. Okay, so we have a lightning round coming up. And the question to
Ricardo, you going to give me a chance to comment again?
Yes, Doug, thank you for reminding me. You get a quick closing statement.
I just think we have to be careful about pinning our hopes on something that's just so far away. And I definitely don't want to be tying ourselves to the goals of Boulder to get their transportation to them, because we're way after Boulder. If you look at the maps, way after Boulder gets their transportation. Many years later, we will get ours. So we're going to put all our energy into getting transportation to Boulder, and we're still not going to have anything. And 2050 is a best guess scenario. I think we need to focus on what we have now, which is improving our highways and roads.
Thank you, Greg. And I see that Joan raised her hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. Everything that Councilman Waters has said we need to do, we are doing. It has taken a very long time to turn this around. All of the mayors on the corridor are in agreement with our peak service plan. We met with Jared Polis, and the governor, and he is on board with it. which is why he told RTD to get this done by 2026. We have, our whole network has been working on this forever. It is it has been a long journey. However, thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Tim, would you like to chime in here?
No, I guess, well, I guess, yes, I would like to chime in. If the question was about sufficient progress or adequate progress, the answer was no, we haven't made adequate progress. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful or unappreciative of Councilmember Peck's work or anybody else's. We just have not made much progress. There's been a lot of words. There hasn't been much action. And I don't want to spend all my time and effort rehashing what hasn't happened from 2004 to now. We need to be clear on what we want and ready to pivot to what's coming in the future.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so now the lightning question. And it's a lightning question. You have 10 seconds to answer. The question is like this. Oh, we're only going to use the green and the red lights on this one as well. And your answer must be finished by the red light. The question is like this. If you could be any leader, past or present, who would you be? Joan, you go first.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Excellent. Tim?
Well, what a great question. Nelson Mandela.
Beautiful. Doug?
Ronald Reagan.
And Greg? Just kidding. Okay, thank you guys. Question number 4. It's our next question of the evening, and it goes like this. As we mentioned earlier, our community has weathered a pandemic and our businesses and residents are still working through this. As mayor, visionary leadership is important. What one specific leadership skill or experience do you possess that makes you the right candidate for mayor during this time? We're going to start with Tim this time.
This is a 1-minute response?
This is a 1-minute response.
Okay. I spent my 44 years plus in professionally in the field of education. The last 21 of those, I ran an education research and development company, which we grew from a regional organization to an international organization. So I do have some experience with leading organizations and groups of people to forge visions of possibilities and then lay out the objectives, the strategies and the tactics and allocating the resources to accomplish those. If there was ever a time when we need that kind of ability to envision, to coalesce, and to plan and execute, it's now. And I do think I bring the experience to this role that this municipality will need. Every municipality is going to need as we move out of the pandemic to the post-pandemic era.
Thank you, Tim. Doug.
Well, Greg Harris has the leadership vision required to be mayor of Longmont. He's lived in Longmont for 50 years. It's a city he loves, a city he knows. For retirement, Greg Harris managed property and is an executive in the construction business. He knows the ins and outs of city planning from working with the city to get things done. He's married with 2 adult children. He's volunteered at his church for more than 20 years. He serves as the trustee for Life Fund Memorial. I'm trying to slow down a little. A nonprofit organization that helps the needy. And he delivers meals to seniors, removes snow when they're unable to do so, and helps them with home repairs and delivers cars for maintenance. All very, very local issue. Leadership in his mind means looking to the future, not putting your head in the clouds, and looking to the future, but dealing with the problems of today.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, Joan?
Ricardo, would you mind repeating that question?
Certainly. The question goes like this. As we mentioned earlier, our community has weathered a pandemic and our businesses and residents are still working through this. As mayor, visionary leadership is important. What one specific leadership skill or experience do you possess that makes you the right candidate for our mayor during this time?
Thank you. The operative word that you said is community. I think as a leader, as a mayor in Longmont, you need to be able to talk to the people on the ground and find out exactly, basically bringing them together to have confidence that you will listen to them, that you will work through issues to bring the city forward, that you will not have just pie in the sky ideas, but listen to them on their everyday issues and problems and help solve those, whether it's traffic, policemen, conservation, water, and let them know that things are going to be better as we move forward.
Thank you, Joan. Tim, you get 30 seconds.
Well, I heard a couple of references about pie in the sky and head in the clouds. There's the difference between pie in the sky, head in the clouds and pie in the sky, and having a vision and being able to set goals around that vision and mobilize people and execute on a plan. So I've done it. Actually, I've led some of that work as a council member on some of the work we've done for the last couple of years. And I'm confident that I would bring what the city's going to need as we move into the post-pandemic era.
Thank you, Tim. Just a side note to the interpreters. Ladies, we have about 2 questions left, and then I'll be able to switch interpreters for you. So please hang in there for us. Okay, thank you, everybody. I think we're making great time. So we're going to move on to question number 5. And question number 5 goes like this. In our recent census, the Hispanic population of Longmont is about 24%. The total BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color population, approaches 32% in Longmont. We know there is a wealth gap between the BIPOC community and the majority. 1 second, please. Okay. How do you plan to help this segment of our community close this wealth gap now and in the future? Would you consider education, access, and/or services are key to help elevate our BIPOC community's net worth? This question goes to Doug first.
Well, thank you. I think this gets into the whole question of why we're having a Longmont area and Latino Chamber of Commerce debate today. Both chambers understand that they need to work to create opportunities that promote the growth and success of Longmont area member businesses. And then business growth is achieved by working directly with entrepreneurs and business owners to identify their goals and to provide them resources that are most relevant to them. And when they grow, then opportunities will grow for all Longmont citizens. Longmont Economic Development Council is one example of a successful partnership, but we need more of those. And then getting Prosper Longmont's goal of more attainable housing can be another way of making workforce housing available, which is for all people of Longmont, no matter what their race, color, or religion. Excessive government overreach costs businesses money that can't be spent on research and development and employee growth.
Thank you, Doug. Tim.
A great question. I would start with the work we have been doing and will continue to do with our early childhood initiative. If we can do better with our youngest residents, we set them on a path for a lifetime that begins to overcome some of the wealth differentials and access that we see in our community right now. Through our community services department, youth and family division, along with the St. Vrain Valley School District and Front Range Community College, we have resources to apply to the preparation of individuals who want to be in the talent pipeline as new opportunities present themselves in the community. So what LDDP, the Longmont Economic Development Partnership, brings are those new opportunities. For them to succeed, the pipeline has to be filled with talent, and it's part of our job to make certain that our BIPOC population is in that pipeline and part of that talent that we want to get into the field. Certainly housing and childcare has a lot to do with the ability of people to step into those opportunities when they present themselves.
Thank you, Tim. Joan, you have the mic.
Thank you. I'm also excited about the governor's vision, I guess, and work to have free preschool for every child in the state of Colorado by 2023. I am watching that carefully, and I think we need to work with our legislators and state senators to make that happen. As far as on the ground, the people I've been talking to, I think education in the BIPOC community is incredibly important. It's important for them to understand how the banks work, what they need to do to get into housing, to have interpreters and banks that will work with them. This is a huge area that we overlook. It's great to have the housing there, but do we know how to access all of the ways that we can afford housing? What do we need to do to work with people on a one-to-one basis to have the housing that we are going to build available for them?
Thank you, Joan. Doug, you get a few 30 seconds.
I'm okay. I'm okay with my answer.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Question number 6. Do you want to do a next question, or do you want to go to a chat question next? Question number 6. How have you educated or become informed on local issues? Where do you turn for your research, or who has mentored you in this campaign? Joan, you get the first crack at this answer.
This is very interesting as far as mentor goes. I've always been interested in our city, but not only in the city, in the school district, and I think it is my children that have brought me, always wanting the best for them, to get involved in the school district, to get involved with leading the Proposition 300 to ban fracking in Longmont, to get the air quality monitoring. That, to me, that is leadership, to take care of what we as our community needs moving forward, to get involved with making sure that we get this rail to Longmont. And I think we are absolutely going to. Who's been my mentors? Everybody. I pay attention to what everybody is doing, to what the public wants, to what the leadership is doing. Where are we going? And are we going too fast, too slow? Is everybody being included? So the mentorship is basically the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Tim, you go next.
I don't think you can serve on city council without without learning a lot. It's like drinking from a fire hose almost from day one, and it doesn't really stop from issue after issue as they come to the council or challenges that present themselves in the community. I don't feel like there's any particular individual that's mentored me in this campaign cycle. I think there was when I first ran, but that was several years ago. I spend a lot of time not only reading about the issues that we're going to deal with, not just what the staff brings, but what else there is to learn. But I spend a fair amount of time with, whether it's with staff or with those members of the community, whether it's from our early childhood council connections or in the development community. There's a narrative about developers that they're all, greedy guys or women, and they just want to take money out of the community. If you've alienated all the developers and all the home builders in the area, and you want to build homes, tough to get somebody to work with you to build homes. So I wanted to listen to the good ones and make certain that they're in the queue for us.
Thank you, Tim. Doug?
Am I on? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, first, I've talked to Greg about this. He reads the Longmont Times called daily, religiously. And the John Fryer articles and columns are a great source of information as far as what's going on in the city. He also walks around the neighborhood, and those are probably his best mentors. Is the people live next door to him, people live around the block from him, whether he was getting when he was getting his petition organized, and he learned from them. He found out what is on their mind, what's going on around the city as far as they know and they're concerned. Greg's an outsider. I mean, he hasn't been on the city council for 4 years. When he started to run, he ran because he wanted to make changes, and he wanted to come from the outside and do that. Also, the campaign itself, once it started, it's been fascinating watching Longmont public media and watching the city council meetings and learning from them. And it's a pretty educational process, and it really shows you what the dangers are of government overreach.
Thank you, Doug. Joan, you get 30 seconds.
So Ricardo, tell me once more what this question is.
The question is, how have you been an educator, become informed on local issues? Where do you turn for your research, or who has mentored you on this campaign?
Oh, I thought I already answered that one.
Yeah, but you get a 30-second closing moment if you'd like.
Oh, this is the closing one?
Well, not the closing statement, just to the question, but
Okay.
we can move on.
I once again, it has just been a continual education, but I get a lot of education from the New York the New York Times. I'm losing my train of thought. The New York Times, the Longmont Times Call, the Denver Post, Longmont Leader, community meetings that I go to, and I'm in a lot of different groups who you discuss different subjects, basically, that are going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Okay, so now let's go to one of our questions that we have from the public. Let's see. I'm trying to pick a good one here for you guys. I have 3 questions. Okay, so Richard Jude writes, around town, the sentiment is that Longmont is as large as it needs to be, though sometimes business elements seem to want growth to continue. How will you resolve that difference in favor of businesses or general citizenship rate? 30 seconds, and let's go with Tim first.
Well, I just disagree with the assertion that this is somehow between the business and the citizenry. There are a lot of homeless people or housing insecure folks who would like us to continue to build homes. The master plan, Envision Longmont, projects our growth out to 116,000 people. It's been that way for a while. If people want to arbitrarily limit growth, what people say, don't boulderize Longmont, that's the quickest way to boulderize Longmont, to drive prices through the roof and contribute to our housing insecurity and homelessness in Longmont.
Thank you, Tim. Greg, where'd you go next? Or Doug?
That's okay. I got it. I have to agree with Tim. I think the worst thing we can do is become Boulder. We're not Boulder. Longmont will grow. Longmont will expand. We have plenty of land to grow into, and the city council is doing that. And I think the issue is not as divisive as it sounded in the question. I think there's plenty of room to grow. We need to get attainable housing in here. We need to improve our highways. And I think by doing that, we will be able to grow and become a bigger city, but you don't have to be San Francisco.
Excellent, thank you. Joan?
I don't believe in zero growth. I think that is a way to kill a city, basically. But I am concerned about our resources. And when we say we are going to have X amount of people, we need to know, are we going to have X amount of resources left? And especially with water and the way climate change is going. And as a mayor, that would be a discussion that I think we need to open up with our city staff and say, we need to revisit this. What is our plan for water in the future if we have droughts?
Thank you. That'll conclude our online questions. There were a few more, but we're almost out of time, so we're going to move along. It's time for closing statements, and you get 1 minute. And Doug, we're going to start with you.
Okay. Organizer, ready?
Ready.
I want to thank the Longmont area and the Latino Chambers of Commerce. And this event is extremely important, since it will allow the business community to hear the positions of the candidates, in addition to the public that might be listening in. This campaign is not about personality. It's about issues, housing, infrastructure, transportation, and stopping government overreach. This is a critical election. Greg Harris is the candidate for mayor who can bring Longmont into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Tim?
Thanks, Ricardo and Scott and the chamber. I appreciate this opportunity. A number of civically engaged leaders in Longmont have said to me they believe this is a make or break moment for the community. The outcome of this mayoral election is going to be very consequential to the future of Longmont. And I believe they're spot on, that we are one of the municipalities around the world kind of been circling for the last 20 months, kind of aching to get out of the cul-de-sac we've been in and on into the future. The quality of leadership is going to matter in which communities get out of their cul-de-sacs and which do not. I think I bring the kind of leadership that'll get us out of the cul-de-sac with clarity, with competence, and with vision. And the only way I'm going to get a chance to do that is if Longmont voters vote for me when they send those ballots back in. So I look forward to the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Joan, close us out.
Thank you. I think that I have been a good leader as far as getting us out of our vision for what the Fast Tracks Northwest Corridor is, and we need to move forward. The mayors are the only ones that are allowed to meet in some of these meetings, and that's why I want to be mayor primarily, because we can't start over. We have to continue with what we are doing. I've been a leader in our air quality. I've been a leader on climate change. I totally believe in our STEAM project, except for putting the library within that. As the library is a community amenity, that should be available and equitable to all with our Envision Longmont statement of walkable, bikeable neighborhoods. So you can go to my Joan Peck for LongmontMayor.com website if you want to know more about me. Thank you so much, Scott and Ricardo, and for Bernice for interpreting.
Thank you. We actually, we have two different interpreters that are taking turns, and one of them is ready to jump on here for us. I want to thank you, candidates, for participating. It's been a wonderful evening for us. We'll ask you if you want to stay and listen to the rest of the debate. Just turn your video off, and then you'll be able to follow the rest of the debate. For the at-large candidates, you can start turning your video on. I am going to put myself off video and off camera for a few moments so we can get ready for the next section. Thank you.
All right, candidates and audience, thank you very much for waiting. We apologize for a little bit of technical difficulty. I think we're all used to these kinds of difficulties this far into the pandemic, so thank you for bearing with us. We may not have some visual from Jeremy, but we're still getting that worked out. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with opening segments and introductions and a review of the rules. All right, candidates, are we ready? Some of you are smiling and you look like you're ready to go. I love this. Okay, we're going to hear tonight from Diane Christ, Jeremy Johnson, Sean Mccoy, Aaron Rodriguez, Talis Salamatian, I think I said it right, Talis, I tried, and Shakita Yarbrough. All right, I will now go over the rules. When it is your time to speak, be sure you can view the lights squared. You can do this by pinning the light screen. So if you cannot see the lights, let me know. You can do that by pinning the screen. The green light will be lit as you begin speaking. When the yellow light comes on, you have 10 seconds left. Your answer must be complete when the red light comes on. I will also remind you, candidates, that this is over Zoom. So I have a mute button here. So just let you know. Each of you will have a minute for an introductory statement. At the end of the segment, you will have 1 minute for closing remarks. I will ask questions and you will have 1 minute to respond. Because of the number of candidates in this segment, we will ask questions to 3 candidates at a time. We will rotate questions, so you'll be answering questions opposite different candidates each time. The candidate answers a question first will also be given 30 seconds at the end for a rebuttal. Also, as the moderator, at my discretion, I will give 30 seconds to a candidate to clarify a statement or to ask them to respond to another candidate's comments. If time permits, we will take questions from the chat room, and I will either ask 3 candidates at a time or all 6 of you at a time. There is no scheduled rebuttal if all 6 candidates answer a question at the same time. There will also be lightning round questions, and you will get only 10 seconds to answer those questions. I will announce and review the time of a lightning question before it is asked. When not speaking, please mute your microphone. However, keep your mouse or spacebar close by to speak when called on so as not to lose any speaking time. We will begin with opening statements, and I will call on you in a random order. All right, candidates, are you ready? Let's do some opening statements. Aaron Rodriguez, let's start with you.
Very well. Thank you so much for having me this evening here for the Chamber of Commerce and Latino Chamber of Commerce debate. I am Aaron Rodriguez. I've been a sitting council member for the last 4 years, and I appreciate the ability and the opportunity to have served the city of Longmont for the last 4 years. As such, I think it's important that you re-elect me for another 4-year term, as there's a point to be made for experience. And as such, my experience in housing is important. I'm a real estate appraiser. I was a former planning and zoning commissioner, and I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to not just our municipal zoning codes, but also the zoning codes of the Front Range that surrounds us, be it Boulder, Loveland, Fort Collins, and the like. And as we are facing a huge housing crisis, I think that's one of the most important things that the city of Longmont has to face as we move forward the next 4 years. I would also like to talk about infrastructure. We need to be proactive when we talk about infrastructure. The flood made that extremely apparent to us in 2013.
Thank you, Aaron. We'll go next to Diane.
Thank you, Longmont and Latino Chambers, for having this candidate forum. My name is Diane Christ. I've been a business growth professional in Longmont for 26 years, and I'm excited to talk business with you. Just as Nextlight revolutionized our internet, the Hyperloop will revolutionize our transportation in our city. Planned in conjunction with CDOT, this high-speed passenger pod transportation system with travel times of 9 minutes from Fort Collins to Denver will significantly impact your business by insulating our business district, providing greater range of commute areas for employees, and reducing delivery costs for supplies and local travel delivery. Built with private investment dollars, the Hyperloop will bring money, talent, and curiosity tourism to our town so long as we have a station. It's time to get on board, and I look forward to talking more with you. Thanks, you.
Thanks, Diane. We'll go next to Talis.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Also, Ricardo and members of both chambers, and especially all you voters out there. I'm Talis Dalmatian, and I'm running for Longmont City Council to be an advocate for small and growing businesses and the people who make those businesses great. I've been in business and entrepreneurship for over 15 years. I have an MBA. I've taught business at CU Boulder. I even have a published book on business. Since COVID, I've been helping businesses recover through my work with Energize Colorado's Digital Innovations Initiative. And my top 3 things that I want to do once I'm elected is supporting local businesses recovering from COVID, helping people into home ownership, not trapping them into subsidized rentals, and supporting people who are looking to continue their education or reskill through Front Range Community College. A community bank can achieve all these goals. Currently, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Seattle are considering city or community banks. Additionally, as we all know, banks can generate a vast amount of non-tax revenue.
Thank you, Talis. We'll go next to Shakita. Shakita, you are up.
Thanks. Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Longmont and the Latino Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. My name is Shakita Yarbrough, and I am running for City Council at large. I'm a single mom, lived in Longmont for almost 10 years, And I'm running because I want to be a positive impact on my community. And because I believe that representation matters. I believe we should have inclusive housing options for everyone, inclusive housing options that meet the needs for those who want to live in Longmont. And I also believe that transportation, that we deserve to have improved transportation that works. And we need to have transportation public transportation throughout the entire city of Longmont. I also believe in preparing our youth for the future so that they also can be entrepreneurs if they choose to, like myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakita. Sean McCoy, you're up next.
Thank you, Latino Chamber of Commerce and Longmont Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum tonight. Hi, I'm Sean McCoy. I've lived in Longmont for 56 years. I've served on the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as 3 other city and county boards prior to my 2007 through 2011 term on the Longmont City Council. While on council, I served on 8 other boards and commissions. As a council member, I lobbied our federal representatives trying to bring federal funds to help ensure the well-being of our economic futures. I teach economics and I'm a fully certified MBA research high schools of business teacher. So I teach students to become future entrepreneurs. I'm a Future Business Leaders of America head advisor at Monarch High School, and I'm a Colorado State FBLA Board of Directors representative, representing St. Clair Valley Schools and Boulder Valley Schools. I'm running for Longmont City Council because I believe I can be a positive force for good in the community that I love. Please vote for me, Sean P. McCoy, and go to mccoy4longmont.com for more information about my campaign. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sean. And I think we have Jeremy here. So Jeremy, just in time, we will give you 1 minute for your opening remarks.
Yes, hello, thanks a lot, Longmont and Latino Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. I am Jeremy Johnson, been a resident of Longmont for 10 years. The main reason I'm running for city council is to be a strong voice for the public, not a group, for the public. That's the entire citizens of the city of Longmont. No special groups, no special interests. I want the best for our young generation so they can continue to grow in this city. I want the best for small businesses. I want small businesses to know that we need them to be part of Longmont going forward. Small business has been the backbone of Longmont over its 150 years of history. I want to bring education. I want to look at free childcare to put more people back into the work.
Atención gratuito a los niños para que todos puedan hablar. Todo el mundo.
The pandemic is real, but that's why we need to get more parents into the workplace so they can get into a more comfortable situation here in the city of Longmont. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeremy. All right, we will now move into the first question. And if you recall, we will ask 3 candidates at a time this question. So this question is for Aaron, Talis, and Shakita. All right, the Latino and Longmont Chambers collaborate with 11 other economic organizations across the community through Advanced Longmont 2.0, a collective impact. The work we do filters through 5 strategic focus areas. And I'm going to make this a little bit easier. We're going to tell you what those 5 focus areas are. They are talent, industry, connectivity, place, and impact. Which is of particular interest to you and would align with the work that you would be attempting to do as a city council person? All right, we're going to go with Aaron first.
Thank you. I believe that talent and connectivity and place are probably the 3 out of the 5 that I would prioritize, in the sense that we need to make sure that folks that the industries that need folks to work there have a place to live, and the connectivity for them to get to work when and how they want to get to work. As far as place goes, I think that the city of Longmont is a wonderful place for industries to locate or relocate or expand in. And again, that will take a focus on housing, as well as a focus on the quality of life, and as well as the ability to offer competitive wages. We have seen that the city of Longmont, through its work with LEDP, has brought in great companies like Smuckers as well as Costco. So I look forward to another great partnership in 4 years with LEDP.
Thank you, Aaron. And Talis, you're up next.
Thank you, Scott. It's a really good question. I appreciate it. I pick talent, industry, and connectivity. I'm going to start with connectivity because we've got Nextlight, which is a great competitive advantage for us. When we're trying to bring in industry, which could be a tech company or other firms that are in advanced industries like OEdit is trying to promote, we have to have that connectivity, because if you look at the changing environment of work, places like LinkedIn, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and others are allowing their workforce to work at home, which really lends ourselves to have an opportunity to grow because of our connectivity. And then finally, our talent. I'd love to work more closely with Front Range Community Colleges, advanced manufacturing, and other programs to reskill members of our workforce that would like to gain even a higher income, promoting home ownership and giving our community an even stronger foundation. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Talis. Shakita, you're up next.
Thank you. I would probably choose place, connectivity, and impact. I believe that we should have those, we should have urban centers.
Que tenemos centros urbanos, saben, corredores costeables y vibrantes, y asegurarnos de que nuestra comunidad pueden transportarse de manera equitativa por toda la ciudad, transportable, y asegurarse que la conectividad es transportable, y también con el impacto asegurarnos que tengamos resolución de problemas innovadores para asegurarnos que nosotros entendemos cómo podemos resolver los asuntos, los problemas dentro de nuestra comunidad también. Así que para mí esos serían mis primeras tres prioridades. ¿Ok? Excelente. Y para todos los que el público, si la sociedad ver más cerca de estas áreas, puedes accederlo en longmont.org, que es una sociedad Longmont Economy Development Org Partnership. Y lo siento, tengo que darle una reputación a Aaron Rodríguez a las preguntas del primer concejal. Puedes, si quieres usar los 30 segundos, adelante. No hay necesidad para una refutación. No, tampoco. No, pues seguimos a la siguiente pregunta entonces. Jeremy, yo creo que no estabas disponible durante las reglas. Voy a repetir bien rápido los tiempos. Jeremy Johnson, Chandra Recording y Diane Chris van a responder a la siguiente pregunta. Así que tienen un minuto para responder a una pregunta, y la gente que responde la pregunta primero, se les dará 30 segundos de refutación. Así que la pregunta es lo siguiente, de nuevo es para Diane Chris, Jeremy Johnson y Sean McCoy, y vamos en ese orden. ¿Qué es tu entendido acerca del uso de estos diapositivos en Longmont? Vamos a comenzar contigo, Diane. Muchas gracias, Scott. Lo que tengo entendido aquí, una manera de que los desarrolladores pasen la habilidad de construir carreteras, aguas negras y los servicios públicos al barrio que compra dentro de ese barrio. Es algo que paga un barrio para ayudar con los costos de un desarrollo urbano en ese barrio. Y estoy de dos pensares al respecto, porque en el pasado hemos tenido reglas para inclusionarios que no favorecían a los que urbanizados y los organizadores de los distritos metropolitanos. Pero estoy de acuerdo que es un impuesto adicional por la autoridad impositiva, y probablemente de los costos deberían dispuestos o cubiertos por la ciudad, creo. Así que, como digo, no estoy de dos pensares todavía. Gracias, Diane. Gracias. Así que el siguiente a Jeremy. Muchas gracias, Scott. Excelente pregunta. He pasado tiempo en el distrito Estamos hablando de poner más gente en el hueco. De eso nos va a ayudar. Con eso nos va a ayudar. Va a ayudar a más gente de ser dueños porque no pueden pagar ese costo en un principio. Para aumentar el costo de infraestructura de esos impuestos. Y si miran el mercado de vivienda, si ven las viviendas no van a aumentar en valor, pero de todos modos van a estar invirtiendo tanto dinero en nuestros hogares y nosotros vamos a empoderar a la comunidad, a poner a la gente en los hogares y de darle albergue a los que no tienen techo. Eso va a ser algo muy importante que vamos a tener que abordar. Gracias, Jeremy. De nuevo vamos con Sean. Bueno, y creo que Diane hizo una excelente explicación de lo que es un distrito metropolitano. Y si es porque no estoy a favor de ello, es porque cuando se trata del mantenimiento general de la comunidad, dicen calles, puentes, lo que sea. Esa gente que está en esos distritos metropolitanos resienten del que les pidan más impuestos por la comunidad.
Those types of things. And then you don't get the sort of quality of life that we're really looking
Calidad de
for.
vida que estamos buscando. Eso es igual para los temas de bonos con los distritos escolares. Así estoy en contra de ellos porque yo creo que existen ciertos lugares donde sí funcionan, pero ciertamente no la vivienda residencial en esos tipos de situación. Yo creo que los urbanizadores tienen que pagar el costo de su enfrente, un costo más barato que ahora cuando el desarrollo que se está construyendo en ese momento, la vida de ese desarrollo siempre es más barato en un principio. Gracias, hijo. Gracias, Sean. Ya como respondiste primero, tienes 30 segundos para responder. Gracias. Estoy de acuerdo con Jeremy. Sí ayuda a que la gente entre a la casa, a tener un distrito metropolitano. Estoy de acuerdo con Sean en que he trabajado con los barrios que tienen pues asociaciones de hogares atípicos y los que no tienen, los que más mayores quejas vienen con los distritos metropolitanos porque hay una expectativa más alta que es de amenidades que aumenta al nivel que pasa el tiempo. Tiene que haber otra manera y creo que podemos encontrar la manera. Gracias. Muy bien, candidatos. Vamos a ir a la ronda de respuesta rápido. Les voy a recordar el tiempo en 10 segundos para responder esta pregunta. Vamos a usar únicamente la luz verde y rojo, no el amarillo. Tiene que terminar en el rojo. Y la pregunta es de nuevo es para los 6 candidatos. Y la pregunta es nombre, producto o servicio y el nombre del negocio de su compra más reciente localmente. El producto o servicio y el nombre del negocio de su compra local más reciente. ¿Listos? 10 segundos. Y vamos a comenzar con Talis. Bueno, acabo de Gossenbach y lo venden sopa y también cerveza. Es lo que fui a comprar en Grocer's Mart. ¿Y Chiquita? Fui a Grains Frames y compré. No es un corazón por Heart by Amanda. No sé cómo no puedo pronunciar el apellido de la que hace un dibujo de Third Street. Sean, sigues. Yo fui a Ace Hardware y compré unos plomería para una cabina que tenemos en familiar. ¿Y Jeremy? Mi compra fue Marco's Hot Dogs. Estoy participando en la semana de restaurantes de Longmont. Me fascina ir ahí. Tengo el Restaurant Week. ¿Y Diane? Bueno, The Print Experts, compré volantes para mi campaña. Si quieres algo más personal, me gusta el CB's en el centro. Y Aaron, te toca ahora a ti. Acceso al Local Musician Direct Richard So, La Vida Bella. Y tenemos 6 respuestas diferentes, todos excelentes respuestas y disfrutan de la diversidad de nuestra comunidad, los productos y servicios que ofrecen nuestros negocios y artistas locales. Vamos así con la siguiente pregunta. Y eso es una pregunta que fue presentado del público en general. Una nota acerca de las preguntas que fueron presentadas por el público. Nosotros los recibimos y nosotros vamos a repetirlos a medida que los recibimos. Nos representan los puntos de vista de nuestras cámaras de comercio y esta pregunta va a ser para Sean, Tellis y Diane. El programa de vivienda asequible, entre comillas, de estimaciones de las márgenes de ganancias para los urbanizadores de la ciudad que quieren hacer propiedades para la venta y no para el alquiler. En algunos casos para pagar para el impuesto de vivienda asequible, ellos no tienen los costos debido a la alza de los costos de construir y de desarrollo. ¿Cómo puedes reducir la carga sobre los desarrolladores que pueden costear el público sin favoritismo? El público, Sean, Tellis y Diane. Sean, vamos a empezar contigo. No hay una urbanización que sea barato y si alguien está entrando a su cuenta de jubilación para poder pagarlo, hay unos problemas que tienen que ver con la pandemia. Quizás ellos no lo han pensado así bien. El problema viene siendo si la urbanización tiene que pagar por su existencia. No hay excepción alguna. Yo como el comisionado de urbanizador en el pasado, la perspectiva comunal y yo estoy completamente apoyo y afirmo esto. Gracias, Sean. Y Tellis, tú sigues. Sí, y gracias al que hizo esta pregunta, porque yo estoy endosado tanto por la Asociación de Corredores de Redes y la Autoridad de Vivienda. Yo tengo muy buenos antecedentes en cuanto a eso. Además, yo fui contratista durante años. Estoy a favor de la vivienda asequible que no subsidiado y por el distrito metropolitano podemos reducir el precio de una casa por 20% y otras maneras innovadoras que podemos buscar reducir los costos, dar tierra o descuento para los urbanizadores para razones en particular. No me gusta tener áreas urbanas muy expandidas, pero hay maneras de desarrollar cosas dentro de la ciudad y también algunos un poco de desarrollo estratégicos en las afueras. Yo creo que debemos hacer el crecimiento inteligente para nuestra comunidad. Gracias, Tellis y Diane. Te toca. Bueno, es una excelente pregunta. Parte de nuestro problema es cuando estamos hablando nosotros de construir en Longmont. Longmont en las afueras, como mencionó Tellis. Yo creo que el crecimiento tiene que pagar por su cuenta, como mencionó Sean, y algunos urbanizadores van a encontrar muy buenas oportunidades en las áreas adyacentes y un área muy importante es el transporte, conseguir gente para esa área para que llegue a su estación de trabajo en Longmont o a su situación de trabajo en Boulder. Y tenemos mucha congestión debido a esto. Así que de asuntos de tránsito en masa como Hyperlink y el transporte local, como han platicado los demás, usando la RTD y más plenamente utilizando los servicios que ellos proporcionan. Gracias, Diane. Sean, tienes 30 segundos para lo que Tellis y Diane dijeron, algunas similitudes, comentarios, algunas diferencias. Y se habló de la transportación con esta pregunta. Así que en el 2009, 4 miembros del Consejo de la Ciudad de Longmont optaron por quitar el aspecto de vivienda asequible y eso nos metió muchas cosas de vuelta en nuestro inventario de casas al precio normal. Y yo creo que lo tenemos a 12% resumir ese alcance. Y tenemos que reconocer que la vivienda asequible tiene que formar parte de nuestro plan global para Longmont. Gracias, Sean. Otra pregunta que nos presentó el público, eso será para Shakida, Diane y Aaron. Y de nuevo, a las personas, esas preguntas no necesariamente representan las posiciones de nuestras cámaras de comercio. Y en el pasado, el Consejo de la Ciudad ha mostrado estar dispuesto de seguir a programas que no son populares con los constituyentes y ignorarlos, obligar a los restaurantes que den pues opciones saludables para los niños por defecto, sin importar que no hay demanda por este producto por parte del producto en general. El Consejo de la Ciudad para representar el interés de los constituyentes a diferencia de los intereses de grupos políticos. Empezaremos contigo, Chiquita. Así que es importante que sí escuchemos nosotros a nuestros constituyentes. Yo creo que también necesitamos nosotros asegurarnos de que recibamos suficiente información de los dueños de negocios también, ¿verdad? Necesitamos que escuchar y necesita existir un equilibrio. Yo creo que como el consejo, cuando hicieron esa decisión, estaba allí cuando la gente entró aquí para testificar de ambos lados, ahí sentada, o sea, en el Consejo de la Ciudad. Así que la gente estaban ahí, que estaban a favor y en contra. Tenemos que monitorear y balancear esto y asegurarnos de quién dijo qué y por qué y cuál es el voto final. Así que también la tarea del Consejo de la Ciudad es hacer mejores decisiones para nuestra comunidad. Así que ellos escuchen el resto de los propietarios y no tienen problema con ello y la mayoría no tienen problemas. Entonces el Consejo de la Ciudad lo va a aprobar. Gracias, Chiquita. Diane, te toca. Bueno, cuando vemos los ingresos, el gobierno controla como 15% por medio de pues, los impuestos en esos ingresos. El resto viene de parte de la parte privada. Y les quiere, el negocio era 85%, magnifica mucho más que el 15%. Los negocios se les permite hacer el negocio bien, van a ayudar a dotar de fondos con muchas cosas y el gobierno va a acabar con mucho más impuestos. Así que yo siento que el gobierno debe de usar menos restricciones en cuanto al negocio. Y todo de eso viene junto con las mejores políticas de negocio. Y probablemente si ustedes tienen negocio, hacer que el negocio tienes que hacer el dinero antes que lo vas a gastar. Enfocarnos en su cliente y eso es exactamente lo que estamos hablando con el gobierno. El gobierno tiene que enfocarse en su cliente también, de otras palabras, sus constituyentes. Así que las nuevas políticas de negocios es a nivel del gobierno también, la luz roja. Gracias, Dayan. Y Aaron, te toca. Muchas gracias. Como el único concejal aquí en este... he tomado votos sobre esos. Yo he tomado una manera de ver las cosas basado en base de datos. Yo estuve en contra de esta iniciativa porque no teníamos la información necesaria para hacer las decisiones. No hemos votado sobre nada, en realidad, afuera de demorar el concepto de licencia para alquileres, porque no tenemos todavía la información de banco de datos para llegar a una decisión informada. Y las comunidades subrepresentado en Longmont, darles este mandato de licencia que efectivamente se les está asignando esto. Así que necesitamos recibir esa información para tener un concepto parecido. Mi voto en contra de resolución de arma de fuego que el concejal Waters elevó, porque esto divide a la comunidad y no necesitamos hacer esto como concejales.
Chiquita tiene 30 segundos para responder a lo que Diane Aaron han dicho. Hemos oído algunas restricciones a esta pregunta también sobre que el Consejo Municipal. 30 segundos para usted. Sí, entonces yo no estoy en el Consejo Municipal, no puedo esperar a que me elijan para el Consejo Municipal, pero es importante que escuchar a los constituyentes y estoy de acuerdo con escuchar a los datos y es muy importante que oímos de toda la comunidad. Así que en el Consejo Municipal necesitamos asegurar de que no tenemos agendas personales y aseguramos de que tomemos decisiones que serían mejor para la comunidad en general. Ok. Gracias. Vamos a ir a la próxima pregunta. Y esta pregunta va a ser para Tales, Jeremy y Aaron. Déjame encontrar la pregunta. La ciudad de Longmont es socio junto con Fort Collins, Loveland y Estes Park en el Platte River Power Authority. Platte River, sus tres pilares son confiabilidad, número 2, responsabilidad ambiental y número 3, sostenibilidad económica. De esos tres, diga cuál es más importante para usted y por qué. Y vamos a empezar con Tales. Pues Platte River es muy interesante porque tiene tres fuentes principales de energía: carbón, gas natural y hidroeléctrico. También tiene energía eólico. Yo creo que sostenibilidad es clave porque la energía es algo que vamos a necesitar no obstante la situación. Entonces, asegurar de que tengamos una fuente, un surtido abundante de energía sostenible es importante. Gas natural va a ser un buen combustible de transición hacia los renovables, pero es crítico que salimos del carbón lo más antes posible. Hay muchas tecnologías innovadoras que convierten las plantas a gas natural. Debemos de investigar esto y con el objetivo a largo plazo de encontrar fuentes de energía alternativo y también almacenamiento para las soluciones a largo plazo para llegar a los objetivos de 2030. Gracias. Gracias, Tales. Y le toca a usted, Jeremy. Lo más importante es sostenibilidad. Hay que sostener cualquier problema que llega mirando los recursos de gas natural. Entendemos que todo el proceso es estable, tienes allí, pero saliendo de carbón va a ser muy importante, porque si uno mira la forma que va la tecnología, tenemos que encontrar una mejor forma para seguir siendo sostenible, pero a la vez tenemos que mirar esos recursos y cómo van a afectar problemas del audio. Y como mencionó Tales, los recursos tenemos que asegurar de que hay un impacto ambiental, que no hay un desastre principal. Perdón, problemas con el audio. Gracias, Jeremy. Aaron, le toca a usted. Para tomar un tono un poco diferente, yo creo que la confiabilidad probablemente es la parte más importante de entregar energía a nuestros residentes aquí en la ciudad de Longmont. Como hemos visto en Texas, confiabilidad probablemente es un asunto enorme, especialmente cuando llegamos al invierno, porque es una cosa en el verano, probablemente uno puede hacer estaciones para refrescarse, pero al final de las cosas necesitamos asegurar de que tengamos la calefacción que necesitamos en las casas. Y no simplemente gas natural, sino para muchas personas que tienen elementos eléctricos para calefacción, necesitamos que esa confiabilidad sea consistente. Y eso es lo mismo, al mismo lente de sostenibilidad, en el sentido de que la gente habla de cómo el sol no solo brilla, no siempre brilla y el viento no siempre está. Necesitamos baterías, necesitamos formas múltiples para entregar energía y lo necesitamos una red que es confiable para entregar esa energía. Gracias. Gracias, Aaron. Vamos a regresar a usted, Tales. Sí, sostenibilidad y confiabilidad van mano en mano. No puede tener un sistema sostenible que no es confiable. No tiene sentido. Así que yo diría que son lo mismo. Y yo creo que el almacenamiento es principal porque no vamos a alcanzar las metas sin almacenaje. Y para recordarle a la audiencia, la pregunta fue para escoger entre confiabilidad, sostenibilidad ambiental y costo para esta pregunta. Ok. Vamos a ir a la pregunta número 6. Y esa es para Jeremy, Shakira y Sean. Van a tener que escuchar aquí porque es una pregunta larga. Pero aquí vamos. Este año, la Comisión de Control de Calidad de Aire y el Departamento de Salud Pública y Ambiente del Colorado proponieron reglas que iban a limitar el tráfico a empleadores con 100 empleados o más por 25%. Así que reducir los viajes de los empleados por 25% si tiene 100 empleados o más. La Cámara de Longmont estaba en contra de esta propuesta después de escuchar las preocupaciones de empleadores en gran parte de la fabricación y también empresas agriculturales. También oímos de empleadores que esto iba a afectar de forma desproporcional la gente que gana más sueldos más bajos. ¿Cuáles son sus pensamientos en equilibrar preocupaciones ambientales con las preocupaciones de las empresas y el acceso a los empleados a los trabajos? Jeremy, gracias. Yo estoy de acuerdo con la Cámara en esto porque tenemos que no hacer dificultad a las empresas. Pero si vemos el transporte y tráfico de Longmont en general, el momento de los semáforos y la expansión de 66, la carretera 66, porque hemos oído que hay fondos para mejorarlo, pero la cantidad de los empleados están pasando en el tránsito. Si reducimos sus viajes por 25%, eso va a hacer el mercado de los recursos un problema. Se va a hacer más pequeño y va a aumentar el costo que va a llegar al público. Tenemos que apoyar y buscar las formas en que el Consejo Municipal puede disminuir el peso que el tráfico y todo que está causando el impacto ambiental. Ok, gracias, Jeremy. Pero Shakira, le toca a usted para esa pregunta. Gracias. Yo sé que es importante que pensemos en los asuntos centrales. Claro que estamos hablando de transporte, estamos hablando de viviendas y estamos hablando de nuestro ambiente. Entonces es importante que tengamos una comprensión clara de quién va a estar afectado por todo esto, asegurando de que estamos tomando medidas equitativas para resolver este problema y también llamando a los expertos que los empleadores y la gente que tiene conocimiento ambiental del control de calidad de aire para que puedan hablar con los empleadores y a ver cuál otra solución podemos imaginar. Yo creo que podemos trabajar juntos, pase lo que pase, pero el problema central es que estamos tomando decisiones equitativas para la gente que necesita las viviendas y el transporte. Gracias. Gracias, Shakira. Vamos a ir a Sean. Es una pregunta larga. ¿Puede darme la pregunta otra vez? Sí, fue un poco larga. Este año, la Comisión de Control de Calidad de Aire y la Salud Pública propusieron reglas que iban a limitar tráfico a los empleadores que tienen 100 empleados o más por más de 25%. La Cámara de Longmont estaba en contra de esta propuesta después de oír las preocupaciones de las empresas, principalmente los que están en fabricación y agricultura. También oímos de las empresas que eso iba a afectar de forma desproporcionada a la gente que gana sueldos más bajos. ¿Qué piensa usted sobre equilibrar las preocupaciones ambientales y el acceso de los empleados a sus trabajos? Yo estaría de acuerdo que probablemente sí afecta de forma desproporcionada a la gente que trabaja con sueldos bajos y es que están apenas empezando a trabajar. Como dijo Shakira, no hay ninguna respuesta fácil a este asunto. Creo que sí llamamos a los expertos, sí tratamos de contactar a la gente que de hecho gana la vida estudiando esos temas. Y yo creo que sí podemos hacer algo si hacemos un esfuerzo sincero para abarcar el transporte en el centro de la ciudad. Así que es un esfuerzo combinado y todas las opciones están en la mesa ahora para asegurar de que podemos hacer lo correcto con nuestros ciudadanos. Ok, gracias, Sean. Jeremy, usted contestó primero, así que va a tener otros 30 segundos. ¿Usted escuchó de los opositores? ¿Quisiera 30 segundos para responder? Gracias, Scott. Hablamos de llamar a los expertos. Los expertos en que contamos ahora son los que van a estar afectados en la comunidad donde vivimos. Ellos son los expertos con que tenemos que contar. Y luego, si no podemos conseguir una solución allí, luego podemos contactar a alguien para atraer a la comunidad, pero al final de las cosas tenemos que asegurar de que estamos cuidando a nuestros propios ciudadanos de Longmont. Gracias.
All right.
¿Ok?
Candidates, we have one last
Tenemos
lightning round question.
una pregunta final de relámpago. Recuerda, hay 10 segundos para contestar y solamente se van a utilizar las luces verdes y rojas. Por favor, complete su respuesta cuando ve la luz roja. ¿Listos?
What is the total
¿Qué es la cantidad total de aportaciones a la campaña que usted ha recaudado?
Okay, are you ready?
Bueno, ¿listos?
We will begin with
Vamos a empezar con Aaron.
I believe about $4,200.
Creo que unos $4,200. Shakira, yo creo que unos 20,000. Sean,
I believe about
creo que unos
$2,600.
$2,650.
Jeremy.
Jeremy, yo creo que unos $2,600.
Diane
Diane,
I think I'm at
creo que unos 1,500.
and Talis.
Y Talas,
About $10,000.
unos $10,000.
Okay,
Ok,
great. Let me just
excelente.
quick time check.
Voy a checar el tiempo rápidamente
Right.
y luego voy a regresar. ¿Está bien?
Okay, candidates, before our closing statements, we're gonna
Antes de los argumentos de cierre, vamos a tomar una pregunta de preguntas y respuestas. Esta pregunta va a ser para los 6 candidatos, así que lo van a responder a ello y todos tendrán 30 segundos para responder a esta pregunta, ¿de acuerdo?
the green.
Solo vamos a usar verde y rojo. Va a ser corta la pregunta, la respuesta. ¿Qué proponen? Dispensen. ¿Qué propone para darle mayor equidad antes de premiar contratos de la ciudad? Déjame, ¿qué proponen para dar equidad mayor antes de que premiar un contrato de la ciudad? Si quieres empezar, por favor. Primero, Talis. Yo creo que los contratos de la ciudad no solo se deben basar en lo que, y el valor que el contratista puede darnos. Yo creo que debes estar muy abierto a tener tantas licitaciones como sean posibles. Por el momento solo aceptan 2 o 3 licitaciones del aeropuerto. Tenemos un contratista que lo tomaron de manos del gerente del aeropuerto que falleció. No sé cuántas licitaciones aceptaron ni nada. Sean, ¿sigues? Estoy de acuerdo con Talis. No debe siempre ser al que es más barato porque a veces recibe el peor producto en ese tipo de esfuerzo. Así que yo creo que a veces nosotros tenemos que dirigirnos a asuntos relacionados con raza y equidad. En ese sentido es sumamente importante asegurarnos de que alguien que de hecho que ha hecho el trabajo anteriormente que lo hagas bien y crítico después de lo que vimos, el horror que sufrimos este verano. Gracias, gracias. Voy a seguir con Diane. Scott, el estándar generalmente por lo menos 3 licitaciones. Y yo creo que también podrían los 3 postores mismos. ¿Cómo podemos ir cambiando las cosas para que podamos recibir mejores licitaciones? Tenemos que ver el valor, el costo, a diferencia de lo que uno está recibiendo. Y es un análisis, una manera de análisis de costos que se puede hacer para ustedes en los negocios y de mujeres y minorías siempre estén en la mezcla. Es importante.
Thank you, Diane.
Gracias, Diane.
Shakira, you're next.
Shakira. Sí, yo creo que deberíamos asegurarnos de que como mencionó Diane, es cierto, siempre debemos tener una mujer, si hay una mujer o un contratista que sea minoría de color. Y mayormente tenemos tan buen talento aquí en Longmont, asegurarnos de que usemos a contratistas dentro de nuestra ciudad. y asegurarnos de que somos equitativos en cómo escogemos, asegurarnos de que son calificados, por supuesto. Gracias. Aaron. Muchísimas gracias. Yo diría que el concepto de premiar los contratos no debe ser solo del Consejo Municipal para que seamos transparentes y también para asegurarnos de que la gente que estamos aceptando algún tipo de soborno, estamos haciendo tratos tras puertas cerradas, no que no sea de los consejos y la gente que elaboran las políticas, deben ser los que están tomando estas decisiones. Contar 100% con Aaron, no quiero pensar que alguien está recibiendo un pago, un soborno y como parte de contratos de nivel de servicio y los productos que ofrecen. ¿Cuánto puede durar esos productos? Y ver el costo a diferencia de la experiencia que uno recibe. Bueno, gracias, Jeremy. Vamos a ir a los argumentos de cierre. Vamos a ir en orden al azar. Para esto, Diane, puedes comenzar con tu argumento de cierre. Bueno, gracias, Scott. Dicen que nunca íbamos a volver al espacio y lo hemos hecho. Dicen que no vamos a tener nuestra aldea de vuelta porque somos más de 100,000 personas en población, pero sí vamos a tener la aldea de vuelta. Yo creo que sí. Y una de las cosas que en realidad está afrontando nuestra ciudad es el transporte. Lo hemos escuchado una tras otra vez. El Hyperloop se supone que estará listo en 9 años para recortar las emisiones en las carreteras por casi la mitad, ni siquiera vamos, sin hablar de cómo va a bajar la congestión a nivel local. Es el futuro y es algo que nos ha faltado aquí en los test de funciones de transporte para el público en masa. Tenemos que unirnos a apoyar este proyecto. No eliminen los demás proyectos que se están considerando en este momento, porque el transporte local es lo segundo que vamos a necesitar. Eso nos va a traer más talento, más trabajadores y los que están trabajando aquí van a poder encontrar vivienda. Gracias. Gracias, Diane. Chiquita. Tu argumento de cierre, por decir. Sí, gracias. Muchas gracias por esta oportunidad de estar en este panel. Estoy agradecida de postularme para concejala general y para mi constituyente. Quizás sea nueva la política, pero no soy nueva a Longmont. Y es invertido en la ciudad de Longmont y para el bienestar de toda nuestra comunidad. Yo creo que todos merecemos muchas opciones de vivienda para los que no pueden pagar una casa. Ahora Longmont merece excelente transporte y yo creo que nuestra ciudad debe ser preparado para el futuro. Voten conmigo el 2 de noviembre. Saben que van a votar por alguien que está dispuesta a afrontar los desafíos de la comunidad. Sean, seguimos contigo. Así que, son Sean P. Mccoy, estoy pidiéndoles su voto para el Consejo Municipal y traer tren ligero a Longmont y la indigencia. Y quiero hacer de esta comunidad mejor comunidad. He estado muchas veces de ir al Consejo 207-2011. Quiero enfocarme en que la comunidad sea el mejor lugar para todos los de Longmont y soy amigable para los negocios. Vote por mí, Sean P. Mccoy, para el Consejo Municipal. Vaya mi página web, mccoyforlongmont.com. Y gracias a la Cámara de Longmont y la Cámara Latina por haber patrocinado este foro. Gracias, Sean, Aaron. Muchas gracias. Yo creo que he demostrado durante el transcurso de este foro, al igual que en otros foros, que tengo la experiencia necesaria y la pasión para poder ser buen miembro del Consejo Municipal durante otros 4 años. Después de los 4 años que ya serví, hablé de mi vivienda, mi pericia y hablé de mi infraestructura, de la necesidad de ser proactivo y la modernizaciones y reemplazar la infraestructura envejeciente. Nosotros necesitamos pequeños negocios y negocios medianos y grandes y también el entorno que es tan bonito aquí en Longmont, que es diferentes ciclovías, parques, espacios abiertos. Al final del día tenemos que ser comunidades. Hay demasiadas cosas que nos dividen en este mundo. Así que necesitamos seguir siendo buena comunidad, que vamos al mismo restaurante, mismos y que auspiciamos los mismos negocios. Así que por favor, vuelva a reelegir a Rodríguez. Gracias, Aaron. Y vamos ahorita con Jeremy. Gracias a la Cámara Latina y la Cámara de Longmont y la ciudad de Longmont. Votemos por cambio. Dejémonos es hora por un cambio. Traigan de vuelta los pequeños negocios que siempre habíamos tenido en Longmont. Y yo no sé si ustedes, pero apoyar nuestra educación, traer más actividades aquí de vuelta a Longmont. Esas son las personas que mantengan a Longmont, que siempre eligiendo ser lo mejor que puede ser. Traigamos al aeropuerto de vuelta aquí. Y 66 años en Longmont. Necesita ser algo central a la ciudad de Longmont. El 2 de noviembre, recuerden, necesito su voto para ser el voz para cada ciudadano de Longmont. Ningún grupo, ningún interés especial, pero todos los ciudadanos de Longmont velo por sus intereses. Y Tales, gracias Scott, gracias a ambas cámaras de comercio por haber auspiciado esto. Es un ejercicio importante en la democracia, así que no puedo agradecerle lo suficiente por todo el trabajo y el esfuerzo que dedicaron en hacer esto para la comunidad. He hablado con muchos negocios de nuestra comunidad y muchas veces se siente que los dejan atrás o que están luchando por recuperarse del COVID. Algunas cosas que quisiera hacer yo para ayudarles a recuperarse es aumentar pues la vivienda para la fuerza laboral, es la ayuda a los empleados, reduce el tránsito y sobre todo las emisiones, va a reducir la rotación de personal para los diferentes negocios y va a mejorar el trabajo para los individuos, les da mejor calidad de vida. Además, los negocios quieren beneficiar las diferentes agencias de desarrollo de nuestra comunidad para no solo tener solo uno en el centro y ya. Además, un banco de la comunidad podría ser mucho bien para la comunidad. Así que bien. Y el tiempo, eso concluye el segundo segmento de los candidatos generales. Vamos a tener un breve receso mientras nosotros nos organizamos por nuestra conversación del barrio 2. Vamos a volver. Gracias a todos los candidatos hoy noche. Aaron, Shakira, Sean, Jeremy, Diane y Tales. Muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes y que tengan muy buena noche.
Hello. Hi, Marcia. My name is Carol Shack.
Pleased to meet you.
Welcome this evening. It's been kind of a long evening. Thank you for your patience and waiting for us.
It's all right.
As we know, you are running unopposed for the council seat in Ward 2, just so people understand. But thank you for participating in this at any rate, even though you're unopposed.
I very much appreciate the opportunity.
Sure. Marcia, we'll do a quick tech test, okay? After I say your name again, click unmute. I think you're good, right?
Yep, she's good.
We're good with all that. So, and you can see the screen and everything's okay?
Yes.
All right, okay.
And I'm not under the long monster anymore.
Guess not. We'll follow the same rules and times as the previous segments. Please pay attention to the lights in the light square. So you can do this by pinning the light square so it doesn't move from your screen. The green light will be lit as you begin speaking. When the yellow light comes on, you have 10 seconds left and you must be complete when the red light comes on. Okay? You'll have 1 minute for an introductory statement. At the end of the segment, you will have 1 minute for closing remarks. Okay? I will ask the questions. You will have 1 minute to respond. At the end, if you have something you needed to clarify, we can give an additional 30 seconds, or if you have a follow-up question. If time permits, we'll take a question from the audience. Questions from the audience will have a 30-second answer time. There's also a lightning round question. I'm sure you're probably familiar with those. And you will get 10 seconds to answer that question. I'll reiterate the timing at the beginning of the lightning question. So are you ready?
I am.
Thank you. You may start with your opening statement and you have 1 minute.
Thank you. First, thank you to the Chambers of Commerce, the Latino and Longmont.
Wait a minute. Gracias a las cámaras de comercio y gracias a todos que organizó esto. Me alegra ser parte de poder hablar con ustedes esta noche, aunque estoy sin oposición, porque tengo un propósito muy fuerte en querer estar en el Consejo otros 4 años. Yo he estado profundamente involucrada en la transición de Longmont a la energía renovable desde el principio, cuando yo presenté la resolución que Longmont aprobó para llegar a 100% energía renovable para servicios eléctricos para 2030. Yo estuve en el grupo de trabajo de acción sobre el clima como el enlace para el Consejo Municipal y ahora estoy en el Comité de Electrificación. Todo esto requiere el conocimiento especial que yo tuve durante mi última década en el sector privado cuando trabajaba en esos mismos temas. Gracias, Marsha. Muchas gracias. Ahora vamos a empezar con una pregunta presentada por un miembro en la Cámara Latino. Y cito, ¿qué va a ser su prioridad principal a las pequeñas empresas y cómo va a asegurar de que las empresas latinas están incluidas? Yo creo que Longmont ya tiene muchos diferentes recursos para pequeñas empresas, empresas familiares y empresas nuevas, y yo haría lo que pueda para fortalecer esos recursos. Por ejemplo, tenemos E4All, tenemos el programa de innovadoras LEDP, tenemos un consorcio de la niñez joven que incluye programas para ayudar a las guarderías familiares a mejorarse, capacitar, y hay un énfasis especial sobre los servicios bilingües y solo en español. Así que todas esas cosas, creo, son muy importantes para las pequeñas empresas y necesitamos tener equidad entre quiénes son los innovadores, los emprendedores. Gracias. Gracias. Un minuto pasa bastante rápido, ¿verdad? Sí. Ahora, la próxima pregunta. El verano pasado, el Consejo Municipal votó para pedirle al personal municipal a que escriban una ordenanza para licenciar las viviendas rentadas. Usted votó a favor de esa propuesta. Sin embargo, la oposición ha dicho que ese es un reglamento más que va a aumentar los costos de viviendas, especialmente para los que menos pueden pagarlo. ¿Puede explicar su posición en apoyo de esa ordenanza con la versión borradora? Sí, hay algo que realmente quiero y yo vi ese voto para la licencia como una forma de conseguir lo que realmente quiero, que es un inventario correcto de la cantidad de casas de viviendas en Longmont y la condición y qué asequible es. No sabemos qué es ahora, a pesar del hecho de que yo he estado pidiendo ese inventario del personal municipal por los últimos 4 años. Así que yo pensé, bueno, voy a apoyar este movimiento para la licencia para poder conseguir el inventario. Lo que pasó en vez de eso fue el desarrollo económico. La sociedad de la colaboración dijo, bueno, vamos a hacer este inventario para ustedes. Así que yo, junto con otros, acordaron a esperar, a postergar la conversación hasta el momento en que la ciudad tiene más tiempo y energía. Yo sí conozco constructores que están a favor de las licencias, igual que los que están en contra. Gracias. La próxima pregunta, yo creo que solo hay unas preguntas más y también de la ronda relámpago. En Longmont estamos rodeados por espacio abierto y las comunidades vecindarios que están limitando el crecimiento. ¿Qué ideas tienen usted para lidiar con este desafío al crecimiento y qué podemos hacer para lidiar con la cuestión de crecimiento? Primero, tenemos que ser una ciudad donde la gente que trabaja aquí en gran parte viven aquí o por lo menos tienen la opción para vivir aquí. Toda la gente que yo he estado oyendo hablando del transporte están equivocados. Necesitamos de enfatizar el viaje para venir aquí para trabajar y hacer a una ciudad vivible para los trabajadores, mejorando los códigos, la zonificación y abarcando la idea de realmente el diseño urbano, que es denso, que tiene tránsito entre la ciudad, que es limpio y frecuente, porque la única forma de sacar a la gente de sus carros y que podamos reclamar el asfalto a mejor uso del espacio es si no requiere mucho más, no toma más tiempo para andar en el autobús o el camión o el bus eléctrico de que lo que toma para manejar, porque luego va a ser más rápido y la gente lo va a hacer. ¿Ok? Gracias. Y para esta pregunta rápida, solo hay una y tiene 10 segundos para contestar a la pregunta. Solo usa las luces verdes y rojas. La respuesta tiene que ser terminado cuando viene la luz roja, ¿ok? La pregunta es, nombra una cosa que ama de Longmont y una cosa que no le gusta sobre Longmont. 10 segundos. Pues me encanta casi todo de Longmont. Yo creo que la cosa que no me gusta es que todo el mundo no quiere que las cosas cambien y siempre tienen los mismos pretextos. Ok. Gracias. Entonces, una pregunta final. Y luego vamos a ver si hay tiempo para una pregunta de la audiencia. ¿Qué es un tema que usted va a comprometerse a esta noche, que va a trabajar para resolverlo para el final de su plazo? De hecho, es la ordenanza de zonificación inclusiva y la forma en que recompensamos a los constructores a que construyan viviendas de precio asequible para ellos, porque la idea de que el constructor tiene que pagar algunas cosas y el propietario final o el dueño del operador de los apartamentos comerciales paga otras cosas, es una equivocación, porque el usuario final debe de pagar todo y solo es cuestión de cuánto cuesta, qué es lo que va a hacer y en qué momento hay que hacer el pago. Los distritos metropolitanos, por ejemplo, son una medida de diferir el pago y conseguir mejor costo de crédito del banco. Y a menos si uno es un constructor sin escrúpulos, y yo conozco algunos, no tiene que costar más, de hecho puede reducir el costo. Igualmente. Okay. Muchas gracias, Marsha. ¿Había algunas otras preguntas del chat? No, ninguna pregunta. Oh, sí. Sí, hace clic y en preguntas y respuestas ahí abajo. Hay uno allí. Ah, sí. Ahí está. Perdón. Aquí está la pregunta. Ok. Este es de alguien que está en el chat y ha preguntado, ¿usted cree que la residencia en la ciudad debe de ser un requisito para trabajar en los departamentos del gobierno municipal, especialmente en las posiciones superiores de administración? Pues a menos si lo hagamos mucho más asequible para vivir aquí, es imposible para los miembros del personal tener esto como un requisito. Muchos quisieran vivir aquí, pero tienen que viajar. Y en cuanto a las personas del liderazgo más alto, ya es un requisito. Okay. Gracias por esto. ¿Eso es todo? ¿Eso es todo? Yo creo que es todo. Muchísimas gracias, Marsha. Y esto concluye el segmento de Distrito 2 y es el segmento final del debate. Yo voy a pasar la palabra a Ricardo para terminar. Adiós a todos. Se me olvidó darle un minuto para cerrar. Oh, yo me preguntaba sobre esto. Lo que quisiera decir sobre la energía renovable, ya que es mi tema principal, es que Yo estaba sorprendida a oír a todo el mundo decir, bueno, vamos a necesitar esto, no tenemos baterías. Y solo quiero que todos que sepan que muchas soluciones existen ya, no necesitamos inventar más tecnología. Y en algunos casos necesitamos bajar el precio un poco más, pero eso va a pasar para el 2030. O yo voy a saber la razón por qué no, porque no es tan difícil. Ok, gracias. Muchas gracias. Ricardo, bueno.
Well, thank you for that.
Pues muchas gracias por esto.
And thank you, everybody.
Y gracias a todo el mundo.
A slight technical problem here. You need to mute the computer.
Técnico con la computadora.
Okay, so thank you, everybody.
Gracias
thank you,
a todos. Gracias,
thank you,
Carol.
Marsha,
Gracias,
and thank you
Marsha.
all for your,
Y gracias
all the
a
candidates this evening.
todos los candidatos
On
esta
behalf of
noche.
the Latino
Por
Chamber,
parte de las cámaras
Longmont
Latino y
Chamber,
Longmont,
I want to
yo
recognize
quisiera
the debate
reconocer
question committee,
el comité de
our
preguntas para el debate.
timers,
Los medidores del
James
tiempo,
Arnold and
James
Teresa
Arnold y
McPhail.
Teresa
So they are sitting
McPhail,
over there.
están
Thank you,
sentados
guys,
allí.
girls and guys.
Gracias.
Our translators,
Las intérpretes,
Holly
Elena,
Claver, and
Holly
Roosevelt
Claver y
Rice.
Roosevelt
You guys did an
Rice.
incredible job. Thank
Ustedes
you
hicieron un
for
trabajo
putting up with
increíble.
our
Muchas
speed
gracias
and
por
for our speed
aguantar
of speech.
todo y la velocidad de nuestro
Thank you,
hablar.
everybody. You guys
Muchas
were
gracias a todos.
amazing,
Ustedes fueron
professional, and incredible.
increíbles,
I
muy
was listening
profesionales.
the whole time.
Yo estaba
most of the
escuchando toda la vez, todo el tiempo.
I want to thank our
Yo
volunteers
quisiera
who
agradecer
were
los
monitoring our
voluntarios que
chat.
estaban
And that
monitoreando
is
el chat,
Diana Dyer
Diana
and
Dyer
Gary Hampton,
y
or Gay
Gary
Hampton.
Gay
And
Hampton,
Alexander
perdón, y
Rodriguez, he was our
Alejandro Rodríguez
technical
también,
guy. He helped
el
everybody's
tipo
computer
técnico
work
que ayudó
appropriately.
a
I wish you could
todos
see
con
the
su
room right
computadora.
now,
Ojalá
jumping
que
up and down, because
podrían ver
we finished
toda la sala,
and
aquí
we're
toda la
all
gente
still
está
here.
brincando porque ya terminamos.
Okay, so just
Bueno,
to finalize, local
solo para
elections
finalizar,
have
las
a big
elecciones locales
impact on
tienen un
the
impacto
quality of life
grande
of
sobre
our
la calidad de
community
vida en
and
nuestra
each
comunidad
of
y
our
cada
residents.
uno de nuestros
Our
residentes.
chambers
Nuestras
remind you
cámaras
to
les
vote
recuerdan que
using
deben de
your
votar
mail-in ballot on or
utilizando
before
su
November 10th.
boleto por el correo
With
antes del
this, I
2
wish everybody a
de
good night
noviembre. Con esto
and
les
thank you for
deseo a todos
joining.
buenas noches. Gracias por estar
Till
con
next time.
nosotros. Hasta la próxima.